The Quality Learning Center received $1.9 million. When I went and exposed it on the first time, it was December 16th, and there was absolutely no cars and no children out midday on a weekday. And then I exposed it, and instead of people going and exposing more of the fraud and investigating the fraud, they actually investigated me for exposing that fraud. You had politicians like Tim Walz saying that there's no evidence of fraud. Ilhan Omar went completely silent when it turns out that Ilhan Omar actually has ties with the building of Quality Learning Center. There's a restaurant attached to that building, and Ilhan Omar is friends with that owner of that restaurant. Meanwhile, the manager owner of Quality Learning Center is partying with Mayor Fry, and Mayor Fry is actually taking tours of other daycares with the friend of Ilhan Omar at her other daycare. I know that was a lot of information there, but that is the truth. There's a lot of ties taking place in corruption going around with these daycare and the fraud that took place. That's how intertwined the web actually is. You have politicians, friends with the fraudsters, and just a whole lot of fraud. And so the Quality Learning Center was then exposed. The owner or manager of Quality Learning Center said that Nick Shirley is a liar, and they started shuffling children into the daycare. However, at the same time, the commissioner of children was saying that the daycare was closed a week before he actually started shuffling those children into the daycare. And my video had been filmed 2 weeks before all of that, just going furthermore to show how much fraud was taking place. And then on top of that, you had other locations in the original videos that were exposed and also rated today. Let's take one for example. We have the Mako and Mini Childcare. This location received more than $5 million. It was 2 daycares operating inside the same building, and today that location was rated. When I originally went to that location, it said open 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. However, there was actually never any children there, and it was not even open during their operating hours because it was fraudulent. And all the windows were blacked out, doorbell didn't work, you name it. Now they have been raided. Another location that was raided was called the Somali Senior Center and Adult Day Services. I went and investigated a non-emergency medical transportation company that was just right next door to this. And in my video, you'll see that we spotted out the Somali Senior Center.
Hey, Tammy, I got a candidate from Texas coming on Tuesday. I'll wait for John to come on and tell you more about it.
And adult day services. There were about 5 other daycares and adult daycares and non-emergency medical transportation companies right next to this building. They have now been raided. Another location that got raided was a daycare right next to the non-emergency medical transportation company that we exposed for not even existing, where I was then pushed out by a mob of Somalians for investigating the fraud that was taking place there. There's a whole lot more fraud than just that daycare inside that location. However, the daycare there did also get raided. And it wasn't just the daycares and adult daycares that they raided. They also allegedly raided some autism centers as well. For instance, in my original video, we located and visited a location that had received over $3.6 million. It's a daycare that also was running Feeding Our Future. And just a block away from that daycare was an autism center. Turns out the owner of the daycare and the owner of the autism center are the same person. So there's even more proof about the fraud that was taking place.
Yep. It's our tax dollars. Don't have to worry about that, right?
About a tenth of all babies born in the U.S. are now anchor babies born to illegal aliens. We're being invaded, and everyone's just like, it's business as usual. 300,000 of those 320,000 were born to illegal alien parents. If we keep allowing this, it's game over in 20 years. A lot of these kids are actually from China. They take them back to communist China, raise them there, and then they send them back here when they're old enough to vote. It's a complete planned takeover, and we're allowing it. I don't know where the Supreme Court is going to land on the birthright citizenship issue, but obviously I'm hoping that they put an end to it. Either this ends or we end.
Yep. That's why, the Supreme Court's gotta strike that down, I think. My opinion.
Do you believe that English proficiency, language proficiency should be strictly enforced for truck drivers? You have 60 seconds.
I would absolutely fight the Trump administration because the job of the California governor is to protect Californians. And right now...
Duh! What about all these truck drivers that are killing people? Gregory would testify to that.
Oh, that includes protecting them from Donald Trump.
So if Katie Porter wins the California governor's
it didn't say anything about Californians. It's saying about illegals.
race, she's going to fight to keep drivers, including illegal aliens who can't read road signs, behind the wheel of 80,000-pound semis. They say this stuff out loud. She went on to say that it's racist to enforce existing laws that semi-truck drivers speak English. This whack job should have been done after she dumped a pot of steaming hot mashed potatoes on top of her husband's head. But no, angry feminists who just scream racism or whatever ism of the day that they have, that's who's getting support as a gubernatorial candidate in 2026. Could you even imagine going back even 10, 20 years, never mind 30, 40, 50 years, and seeing a lunatic like this on the debate stage? We're falling fast.
All they care about is communism. They want their socialism. That's what they want. Boy.
Please, the billionaire's tax. That is.
They also want about there's going to be a ballot measure also on the ballot for voter ID out there.
Picking up steam. I was watching CNN looking at their poll numbers, and that looks like that's going to.
Democrats are going to fight for both of those things really hard on the ballot. So, we'll see what happens.
Pass overwhelmingly. What does that mean for us here in the state of California?
Well, what we need is truth in advertising on that initiative. No one likes billionaires. We always want to stick it to the rich people. And the Democrats know that. But recognize it's not a billionaire's tax. This is an everyone's tax. The billionaire's tax creates a new form of taxation called a savings tax, where they go after your 401k, your equity in your home, whatever you have in your savings account, if you manage to scrimp and save in California's high cost of living. They want to create this new form of taxation. They're doing it under the window dressing of, we're only going to charge this to the billionaires. But in the text of the initiative itself, it says that the legislature at any time can actually expand this savings tax to anyone in the state of California. That's why Reform California, my organization, worked with other taxpayer advocates, and we're putting a countermeasure on the ballot in November that we're submitting this week called Stop the Savings Tax. And this would eliminate the ability to do a savings tax on the middle class. Watch the Democrats squirm as they say, vote yes on the billionaires tax, but no on the Stop the Savings Tax protecting the middle class. That's when the truth comes out as to who they really want to tax. They want to tax the little guy, not the billionaire.
Carl, we have to call it a conversation. Mr. Kamau, have a safe day, and we'll talk to you again as we get closer to Election Day.
Thanks so much, Paul.
Carl DeMauer, everybody.
They really want to get into your pockets, but they want to label it as a billionaire's tax. And that number will keep going down lower, and inflation will cause you to get up into those brackets anyways.
Please,
to your 401k.
I didn't mean to start it again. Sorry.
Guys, this is an urgent warning for every parent and taxpayer in California. Gavin Newsom is about to rip $5.6 billion straight out of California's classrooms, not from government waste, from our kids. This is money that the voters, you already guaranteed for education under Prop 98. It is in the state's constitution. It's supposed to be untouchable, but Newsom is about to use a backroom budget trick to gut it anyways. It's in his revised May budget that is dropping any day now. Newsom plans to defer $5.6 billion out from the guaranteed pool of money, saying they'll just pay it back later on. That means less money in the classrooms right now, fewer resources, bigger classes, students paying for his failure. Why? Because he blew the budget again. Because Sacramento cannot control its spending. Because he'd rather protect his political pet projects than protect our kids. So where is all that money going? It is covering the massive deficit he created.
They're trying desperately to keep these illegals here.
It's funding free health care for illegal immigrants. Yes, you heard me. His bullet train to nowhere that will probably never, ever get built. It is being used to cut deals with the exact special interest insiders who always get paid year after year. And our kids get whatever is left. Enough. This is exactly what Prop 98 was designed to stop. Politicians treating school funding like their own personal piggy banks. and Newsom is smashing it anyways. This is robbing our kids to pay for his agenda, and I am completely done with it. So hear this clearly, Gavin. Do not defer one single dime of Prop 98 education funds. Not now, not later, not ever. You need to fully fund our schools at the constitutional minimum. No delays, no excuses. Our kids need to come first, not your politics. If you are sick and tired of
what they do is they're trying to make it so they're always in power, the socialist group.
Sacramento raiding education whenever it wants, do not just sit there. Share this video right now. Send it to every single parent you know. Blow this up and make it impossible for them to ignore. Tell Newsom to fully fund our schools in his budget now. California's children are not your budget fix. They deserve better. Thank you, and please share.
Yep, here's a little pudding.
Mr. President, my name is Amber, and I need this message to reach you. During Hurricane Helene, I was one of the heavy hitters that was doing everything that I could to get support and resources to the people in Western North Carolina and East Tennessee. And during that time, sir, we had to go toe-to-toe with FEMA over their lack of urgency, over their lack of support, over the constant roadblocks they kept putting in front of the people who already lost everything. And now we're seeing it again, sir. Right now in Southeast Georgia, tens of thousands of acres are burning. Families have been evacuated. Homes have been lost. And these people are scared. They're exhausted and they are begging for help. And sir, the reports that I'm receiving from FEMA's response so far are absolutely unacceptable. I'm being told that they're telling these firefighters to stand down. I'm also
They want the property.
being told that they are turning away water and resource trucks. Sir, I'm also being told that these families are being threatened by FEMA. That if they take even $500 from a local church or a local charity so they can go get them somewhere to sleep at night, that FEMA is threatening them that they will not get any further assistance if they do this. And lastly, sir, what I'm being told is that after these people's houses have burned to the ground, there's still smoke coming off of these ashes, that they are going around and putting signs on their property saying, report insurance fraud. Sir, these people haven't even had the time to even process this and grieve what they have lost. And these poor people are already being treated like a suspect instead of a survivor. FEMA's job is not to create roadblocks. FEMA's job is not to intimidate the victims. And FEMA's job is not to stand between hurting Americans and people trying to help them. These families need water, they need shelter, they need supplies, they need livestock help, they need clear answers. And sir, if these people in FEMA cannot do their job, then put me in their place. I will do their job. When it comes to disaster relief, it should never be political. It should never be selective. And lastly, it should never punish Americans for accepting help from good people when the government's not doing their job. So, Mr. President, please hear our cries. The American people deserve better. The families in Georgia need help now.
Yeah, I don't know who's the head of that FEMA agency right now. Maybe someone in the chat knows. Hopefully they'll do something. Sometimes it's rotten from the core, though, you know, from the bottom. This is Glenn Beck.
There are now new revelations about the estimated cost of the Fantasy Train. Welcome to Fantasy Train. Now, what
they could have built about 18 of them by now.
What was this supposed to cost? You know, Ricky, what was this supposed to? It was supposed to be like $50 billion to start with, something like that. And then it was
okay, almost 40 or 50 of them.
100 billion. Okay. And it was supposed to take just a couple of years. It's still going. Now the price tag is $231 billion. They have been,
I don't think there's 1 foot of track done,
saying scrap this whole thing, scrap it. But California just keeps digging. How much was it?
How's that thing going to work when you got 15-minute cities? You're not supposed to even leave.
2008, $33 billion.
$33 billion.
What a deal.
It's now $200 billion over. $200 billion over. And it's still not running. Still not running. And by the way, it goes from nowhere to nowhere. So, I mean, if you're like, man, I wish I could get to nowhere. Get on that plane. I mean, you know,
and use it for the illegals. You're right.
But you can think about someday getting on that train to.
Good point, Colin.
Go nowhere.
That's probably what they want it for. It's the illegals. Also, I guess there's rare earth minerals underneath there that they want.
And somehow or another, the taxpayers just keep doing it. They just keep going, you know what? That's not so bad.
Yeah. Just keep reaching into my pocket, causing inflation, printing money.
Right, lads. I don't know if this is going to start an argument or not, but I actually...
This one's for Colin.
Actually don't care. So, I've just seen a report on RTE News there of this woman from Ukraine, and she's saying, like, what's going to happen to me? I am not going to have my accommodation. And here's the thing, what she said that actually really got my goat now, and got my goat good. It was like, my daughter finished her degree or whatever in Trinity, and I'm looking at her going, I was born and raised here. My parents have paid tax here their whole life and worked, and they couldn't afford to send me to Trinity. I work, my husband works, we pay tax. We can't afford to send our children to Trinity, and some fucking blow-in can come along and get their place in Trinity. Nah. And not only that they get the place, that's not my issue. They can afford to have the place in Trinity, to afford the accommodation, which how many people are struggling to get accommodation for their children?
Trinity, is that a college or something there, Colin? What is that, Trinity?
Around the country in college. How many people is that happening to? How many people are struggling to get accommodation anywhere near where they are, or their families are, or their support systems are, or their jobs are? How many people are struggling to get accommodation, full stop, to have somewhere to live? How many people are homeless in this country? The numbers are astonishing. And then this fucking entitlement society that came over here, got everything, and now they're like, what's going to happen to us? We don't care what's going to happen to you. Sorry now, long and short, but we don't care what's going to happen to you, okay? Because guess what? That's what's been happening to us for a long time by our own government. And people that are from this country pay tax into this country, and you pay into the system and they can't pull anything back out of it. It's not very fair. So guess what, lads? You're just getting a taste of your own medicine. Okay? And if you don't like it, book your little flight home, because let me tell you something now. War in Ukraine, all I'm going to say is I'm going to have a Joey moment here now from friends and be like, war. Nah. That for me, I like over my head. I'm like, that's not even happening anymore. And I just feel like there are children waiting on operations here. There are children waiting on assessments of need here. There are people that are really struggling and really feeling the pinch of everything. And for RTE to put that out there, to put that article out there and that piece of film, like, it has to be rage bait, because it's actually probably...
So how are illegals coming over and getting free college tuitions when it's so expensive to go to that? How's that working? Why is it free for illegals?
After driving the whole country, absolutely bananas today. Like, you've achieved because you've actually pissed me off anyway. That's all I know. But... yeah, just to let you know, the gravy train has now stopped, and get off at the next destination wherever you feel like it, because we are done.
Yep. Here's some more on gerrymandering.
Everyone's super excited that the Supreme Court ruled that it's unconstitutional to draw congressional districts based on race. That is wonderful. And yes, it's also wonderful that if some of these districts redraw before the midterms, we can eliminate some Democrat seats. But do not be fooled into thinking that Democrats will stop here and they won't try to find another way to redistrict in their favor. Don't forget what Boston did just a few years ago with public exam school admissions. It used to be entirely merit-based, but that wasn't making the schools diverse enough. So they turned around and made admissions zip code-based. It was economic discrimination. If your kid happened to live in a wealthier zip code, even if they were the poorest kid in that zip code, they were less likely to get a seat. Boston Public Schools said they did this so that, quote, the student body better reflects the racial, socioeconomic, and geographic diversity of all students in the city of Boston. You think they won't pull this kind of stunt with congressional districts or try some other stunt that none of us are evil enough to think of? By the way, the Supreme Court refused to hear that Boston case because they said it wasn't based on race. Economic status is not a protected class. Get ready for games because they're coming.
Yep. Here's Trump on the Iran war. I wish he would do this. Just finish it and get it over with. He's playing around trying to make a deal with him for so long, and they know they're just stretching it out. That's what they're doing.
Commander come in here yesterday. Was he briefing you on a different approach? Options. What kind of options? How would it look different?
There are options. I mean, do we want to go and just blast the hell out of them and finish it forever, or do we want to try and make it
finish it off?
Those are the options.
Do you want to go blast the hell out of them?
I prefer not.
Forever?
The longer it goes, the longer they have a chance of surviving the regime.
On a human basis, I prefer not, but that's the option. Do we want to go in there heavy and just blast them away, or do we want to do something? They're a very disjointed unitship, as you can understand, Peter. Very disjointed. I mean, they're not getting along with each other, and it puts us in a bad position. One group wants to make a certain deal. The other group wants to make a certain deal, including the hardliners. The hardliners want to make a deal, too. Why wouldn't they? They have no Navy. They have no Air Force.
They're stalling. They figure as long as they stay in power, they win.
They have no anti-aircraft. They have no nothing.
Take them the rest of the way out. They can in a few days. It's all it would take. Here's Mary Cage. She's talking about trans people. Listen to what they say. She makes fun of them all the time.
Welcome back to Listen to Trans People, where that's all we do. First, girl horny. It won't stop. How in the world did I not realize how bad this would be? It's like a reverse blue balls. It just doesn't go away. I just want someone to destroy my prostate. How long did it take to start feeling girl horny? To make a long story short, I just had an experience, unlike any I've ever had, in a way that I can only describe as girl horny. It's like tonight my body suddenly flipped the switch from, oh, boy horny to, oh, girl horny. Extreme increase in libido. My libido has been through the roof. I used to only take care of it like 1 to 2 times a week. Now I'm going 3, sometimes 4 times a day. It genuinely hurts so bad right now that I'm tempted to leave work early. Is this a female or?
Not to get too graphic, but basically they take those estrogen pills and instead of swallowing them, they put them up their butts, and that's what's happening. They're so sick in the head.
Orgasm? In the past few days, I've noticed that when I'm getting closer to climax, my body squirms around a fair bit. During orgasm, my back bends backwards and my entire body shakes for up to what feels like 10 seconds. How can I try and discover the girlgasm? Any tips? The mythical female orgasm should not be reckoned with. That shit had me lightheaded, relearning how to walk, sweating like a farmer on a hot day, and my hearing still has...
I think putting them in asylums would be cheaper. With all the stuff that happens later and the harm they do to others, it'd be actually cheaper to just put them in the asylums.
...fully come back.
When
10
they're that
months
nuts.
on HRT, orgasms are slightly different, but still feel lacking. I don't feel like I experience what most others seem to. Did it take longer for some of you to reach this? Was it using a different technique than usual?
It's cost us a lot for these trans surgeries, too. And then all the medical care they need after that fact to just keep them alive after that. A lot of them die 20 years younger, as a matter of fact, but they're always sick.
It feels good, but meh. Doesn't last as long as others claim. I want heat to emanate throughout my body and start convulsing and shaking uncontrollably. Is that too much to ask? Thank you for listening to Trans People.
She makes fun of them all the time. A good job. She does a good job. They've tried to beat her up before, though. They try to go and get her and beat her up. I've seen stuff on that. So she's very secretive where she really is and her real name and all that kind of stuff. Here's a government in Pennsylvania. They wanted to get something through and they don't want you to know really what it is. And so this is how they do it. Watch this.
Sorry to interrupt your programming, but I thought you might want to see the Democrats in action.
I think I had it for an opener yesterday, but I didn't play it on the actual show.
In Pennsylvania. Take a look at this garbage.
The chair will call up House Bills 158 and House Bill 1849 for the sole purpose.
So they're going to vote on both of them at the same time with one vote. And she just says, oh, all the Democrats vote the same. They don't even individually go and ask them. They're trying to get the Republicans to go through the motions. They're just cramming this shit through. And they won't even tell you what's in these bills.
Of re-referring those bills to the...
Or even the name of the bills.
Health Committee. Will the secretary please call the roll? All Democrats will be voting yes.
Could we...
He said all Democrats are voting yes. He already has the vote for them. They're already voted.
I know what the bills are.
He's not going to tell them.
House Bill 158, House Bill... We're in the middle of... I will strike the vote.
I mean, we can't vote on a re-referral that we don't even know what the title of the bill is.
This is so wrong.
I mean, obviously you don't want us to know what the title of the bill is.
We're running out of time, so we're trying to...
Then later they can say, oh, you voted for such and such, or you voted against such and such. And they don't even tell the name of the bill or what it's about. All the Democrats already voted yes. We're getting it through no matter what.
If I would have ever pulled that in the majority, you would have lost your mind.
You had. And these bills, we're gonna just go to a roll call. Secretary, please call the roll. We're re-referring bills. These aren't policy discussions. House Bill 158 and House Bill 1849.
So obviously one of them is women in sports, and we still are trying to defend men in women's sports here in Pennsylvania. Once again, this majority refuses to let us...
See why he didn't want the name out there? He didn't want that on camera or anything? It's about cramming guys, trans dudes, into women's sports in Pennsylvania, even though it's against the federal law. They're going to still do it. This is how bad they are.
Vote on protecting our daughters and granddaughters in women's sports.
Secretary,
so just to be clear, that's what this is.
And proceed with the Republican roll call.
Mr. Chair, we want to speak on the bill. Point of order.
We're in the middle of a roll call.
They're just going to cram this through without even telling the title of the two bills. There's two bills there, and there's just a number to them. Some number that they made up. They're going to cram it through. This is how they keep us from really knowing what's going to be pushed through and everything.
Chairman Kaufman.
Yes or no, or we're going to go to the next member.
Did the majority vote already?
Yes.
Oh, with one vote, he just said they all voted yes. They didn't individually poll them.
So we don't actually get to make comments on anything anymore, unless you deem it's appropriate.
We're on motion to re-refer. So
what's the other bill? 158. We know you want to avoid the vote on women's sports. What's the other one?
Member?
Representatives Bonner.
Mr. Chair, point of order.
Go to the next member. We're in the middle of a roll call.
Mr. Chair, point of order. Can we speak on this motion? We've not been given a chance to speak on the motion.
We're in the middle of a roll call.
We weren't even given a chance to speak on the motion. What specifically are the bills that we are voting on? What are the titles of the bills? What do these bills do? What are we...
Can you see if they take over the House and Senate again? This is in the House of Pennsylvania.
Referring to the Health Committee.
Well, Representative Kaufman just said what one of the bills, so you know the answers. So
what's the other bill?
Kaufman.
They don't even know what they're voting for or against. That's how ridiculous it is. Unbelievable. Now here's a father about an illegal and stuff like that. I got two videos about this actually.
None of y'all have kids. I'm just curious. Here's what I need you to do. When I tell you this story, think about your kids. Think about your child coming home from a night out with their friends, laying down, going to sleep, feeling somebody come in the room and wake them and drag her out of bed, naked, forced on her knees with her hands over her head, begging for her life, begging for her hero, her father, Me, that couldn't be there. She was 5'3". She weighed 115 pounds. Bang! Dead. Gone. Why? Because Alexander Devontae Dickey, who was arrested 39 goddamn times, 25 felonies, was on the street. How about that? How good are we doing for our family? How good are you doing for your kids? He should have been in jail for over 140 years for all the crimes he committed. You know how much time he spent in prison? A little over 600 days in 10 years. He's only 30 years old. He was committing 2.65 crimes a year since he was 15 years old, but nobody could figure out that he couldn't be rehabilitated. Well, you'd have to put him in prison to see if he could be rehabilitated. Isn't that the idea of prison? But no, my daughter...
We're seeing a lot of this. I got another case after this.
...wanted to be a teacher. She finally figured it out 2 weeks before she was executed. And I haven't heard a damn word from by
Muslim illegals.
Byron Gibson in South Carolina. Not one word. 4 months, no communication. His biggest concern was that he was pissed off about my interview and how I made him look on the Fox News channel with Trey Gowdy. How pathetic is that? That we're letting our 22-year-old kid visiting friends. It's all she ever wanted to do was visit friends. And she literally was executed while on her knees begging for her life. Her name's Logan Federico, not Irina. And you will not forget her. I promise you. You will be sick and tired of my face and my voice until this gets fixed. I will fight.
They won't fix it. They want those illegals here.
Until my last breath for my daughter.
They won't even ship out the ones that are killed. They won't even keep them in jails.
You need to fight for the rest of our children, the rest of the innocents, and stop protecting the people that keep taking them from us. Please. You have the power. We put you in the power to do what you have to do. We're asking you, we're begging you all to stop this. 39 crimes in 10 years, 25 felonies. Can anybody here explain to me, well, how possibly he could be on the street? Possibly be on the street. How is it possible? I could sit down in a room and I could explain the whole process of how it failed, how South Carolina failed, Logan. Okay? How lack of communication. What y'all did, you woke up a beast and you pissed off the wrong daddy. Because I'm going to put it out there. And I'm not going to be quiet until somebody helps. Logan deserves to be heard. Everyone on this panel deserves to be heard. And we will. Trust me. My daughter laid on the floor for 7 hours before somebody in that house recognized that something was wrong. And that career criminal, an hour later, went on a spending spree with her debit card. When they saw his face on a video, they didn't have to do a check. He was arrested so many times, they knew who he was. They knew exactly where to go get him.
But the judges are still letting him out.
Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic that I'm here today. Thank you for your time.
Yep. Here's another case in New York. New York. Two women were stabbed to death by this illegal.
Yeah, so first of all, our hearts go out to the two individuals who were murdered, but I want to stress that this didn't have to happen. I know there's a lot of discussion around the country in Washington, D.C., but particularly recently in Albany concerning our 287G program that we have with ICE. This is just an example of what happens when you have open borders. So the individual who is now a defendant in this case for 2 homicides in our county came to this country in 2016 at 12 years of age. That individual was released when apprehended and allowed to stay in this country, even though that individual was an unaccompanied minor. In 2022, the federal
still illegal
government had a program where any unaccompanied minors that were in the United States automatically would receive papers that let them stay here legally in the form, I believe, of a green card. Here's what's wrong with that policy. First of all, why are we letting people that are undocumented into our country? Number two, why are we letting an unaccompanied minor into our country to run around basically without any supervision whatsoever? And then that individual grows up and automatically gets legal status in our country. And therefore, this is a policy that has resulted today in 2 women being killed. One 32, one 42 years of age. They could have gone on to have very productive and happy lives, but they're no longer with us because of failed policies in the past that our state government is trying to reinstitute here in New York State. 287G in New York State has worked very well, and particularly here in Nassau County. We have removed over 2,000 illegal migrants with criminal records ranging from attempted murder, rape, robbery, burglary, drug dealing, gang activity, assault, and removed those 2,000 individuals, not only from Nassau County, but from the whole region and our state. I don't know what the criminality would be here and throughout this region if those 2,000 individuals were still roaming around. Again, we cannot go back to the failed policies that have created this environment. This is just another example. So here in Nassau County, we are intent on continuing with our 287G program. We are waiting to see what Albany is going to do, and then we will act accordingly. Again, our hearts go out to these 2 women and their families. Thank you.
In the future, Colin, we'll probably have to get permission from Big Daddy government to use the internet. Okay, this is Gavin Newsom spending more money on stuff.
Things that cost less than Newsom's $1.2 billion California capital expansion. The Golden Gate Bridge, twice. 200 million In-N-Out burgers. House all 10.
That's how much for his new mansion.
10,000 homeless veterans in California. The original capital times 5. 3 Trump ballrooms. The capital of New Zealand, India.
The ballroom for the White House is 1/3 the cost of what he's spending for the Capitol building for the state thing of California.
And Germany.
I bet you there's some greases, palms being greased.
Combined. Follow for more bullshit.
Yep. All right, sentiment. Fetterman has been saying a lot of stuff that makes him sound kind of conservative. Not overall he isn't, but he's better than all the other leftists.
How big of a threat do you think this communist movement is?
Well, I mean, there's that phrase where terrible or bad ideas refuse to die. And it's very sad to see that kind of things being revisited in this kind of way. And a lot of these, these terrible groups like Code Pink and a lot of the other ones that are strongly aligned to the CCP, without a doubt, they're being financed. I mean, it's ironic. I mean, these kinds of protests are being funded by billionaires against billionaires. I mean, I don't know if they realize the irony in many of those things right now. And now there is kind of a small communist takeover in Maine. Plattner, he's already announced that he's an avowed communist. He's made that statement and he put that online. Now he's going to be the Democratic nominee. So there is a resurgent about the socialism, and that's becoming more and more part of it. And now there's more. It's like a marriage of the Palestinian, the anti-ICE, the abolish ICE, and now turning it in to like an orgy of socialism here. And that's sad, because it's supposed to be about labor, like unions. I'm a proud pro-union Democrat, but the kinds of mess that you see are showing up in many of them. I mean, that is the worst impulses that are
their leadership is commies, and they're trying to make all their membership commie.
Party continues. We just seems to can't resist those things.
Okay, this one's listen to this leftist here. Be ready for this. She's really a terrorist, actually.
Listen, if the motherfucker's not dead, what we need to do is find him and...
They're going to find... She's talking about Trump.
Listen, if the motherfucker's not dead, what we need to do is find him, and then we are going to set him on fire and quarter him. And we are going to do this on a paid live stream so that all of the world can watch as he burns to death and is torn to pieces at the same time.
I'm not sure if that account there is, if that's Instagram or what it is. It's probably Blue Sky.
It's going to be fucking amazing. And then we're going to take the funds that people paid to watch this live stream, and we're going to use it to rebuild Gaza. As an American, I am absolutely standing with Venezuela, and I don't support the troops. I've never supported the troops. I will never support the troops, because the troops...
Oh, you don't dare give freedom to Venezuelans from a dictatorship.
Terrorists are the people who make all of this evil shit possible. If a guy told me that he melted some ice and could somehow prove it without getting himself into trouble, I'm not gonna lie,
means killed a nice person. ICE meaning immigration.
I think there's a pretty good chance I'd be down to hook up with him. And I highly doubt I'm the only person who feels that way.
She needs a mental hospital too, if you ask me.
Why are the odds this low that we can pass something so common sense like requiring an ID to vote? Keep in mind, this is something majority of Americans want, so democracy is not a thing unless it's in favor of the Democrats. Because this is not complicated. Every other normal country on the planet requires ID. You need an ID to drive, fly, open bank account, buy a drink, but voting, that's the thing that decides the future of the country. That's where we draw the line on safety and security. And don't try the racism card. It's insulting and lazy. Expecting basic verification in a federal election is not voter suppression. So that argument's out the window. Because you cannot expect me to believe that people who don't have an ID card, their number one priority is going to vote on the list of things they need to do. This is why Democrats are terrified of this passing, and this is why it should be...
There's more than one version of it, too, of the 1984 there, Colin. The old one, to me, seems the better one, but they're both really good. It's kind of a look into what they want.
Our top priority.
It was Hollywood that made that stuff, I tell you.
They don't initially come for you with pitchforks and fire, because you would never join them if they did. They come for you with empathy and justice. I was not just liberal. I was devoted. I fell for the seduction of feminism because it told me that my pain was not just my own. It was every woman's pain. It told me that patriarchy was the problem and men were the enemy. And to a soul that was damaged and desperate for any answers at all, that was the most seductive lie I had ever been sold. I marched for BLM because it told me I was a savior. I absolutely believed that Black people were oppressed, despite all of the evidence around us saying otherwise. I wore those labels like a badge of honor without even realizing that those were my chains, and that I was just fueling a machine that thrives on division. I also didn't realize that feminism, liberalism, and BLM are not separate movements. They're all the same trap, and they're designed to sever our connection from family, men, and God. My awakening was such a slow drip that began in about 2021 when Joe Biden was our president, and I started to see military-aged men come across the border in droves with no women and children. And I knew that nothing good was going to come from that. The next thing that my eyes awakened to was looking around and seeing all of the propaganda and agenda placed on children transitioning and using pronouns. And because I immersed myself in nothing but the news and biased articles, I developed a little bit of TDS there. And when my father told me that Trump actually signed a peace deal during his first term, Because I told him I was always scared he would start a war, I asked him, well, why didn't they share this on the news? And he responded with, they don't share good things about Donald Trump on the news. Okay, so now I'm paying more attention. But I still went pretty far left during Roe v. Wade until October 7th of 2023 happened, and the left took American flags out into the streets, screaming death to America, burning them, and I just knew that I was standing on the hateful side and in an actual cult. Around this same time is when Donald Trump's mugshot spread around like crazy, and I thought to myself, well, if they're all corrupt, why is he the only one who's being singled out? When I asked that question on Facebook, the cult went after
because they needed him out of the way.
Me. So I kept my mouth closed for a little bit and just went down rabbit holes and started learning the truth about not only Donald Trump, but everything. This was when I had my awakening and realized that I'm living in an actual matrix. It was very spiritual, in fact, leading me to God. And I began to share about politics and spirituality on TikTok. And this was when the far left figured out that I'm an author and they can go for my livelihood, and that they did exactly that. They one-star bombed my book reviews and ratings without even reading my books. Even though some were removed because myself and my supporters have reported a bunch of them, they also removed some of my good reviews. They made content about me and cross-posted hundreds of videos about me with thousands of people cheering.
They want to shut you up, and they're very vindictive too.
Them on in the comment section.
How do they have that much time to do all that?
They wrote and published songs about stabbing me, as well as the big one was losing my endorsement by a USA Today best-selling author, all because of my political opinion. And so I did what any normal author would do, which is look for a literary agent online. And I was so quickly disappointed to find out that they were also pushing liberal ideologies, asking for my pronouns, and not accepting from straight white authors, only submissions from oppressed groups such as Black, gay, and trans. But by this time, I had already shifted my consciousness and healed my nervous system. And if the left were to do the same as me, they would look around and realize all of the lies would be
it's suppression,
BLM, feminism, liberalism, and more. I believe that politics and spiritual collide together. My awakening impacted my life so much that I can barely even scratch the surface with getting it into a 3 to 5 minute video. And that is why I have been dedicating my time to talking about it on my platform and writing about it in my new book. I'm really excited to share about it with you guys because now that I have completed my testimony, I'm looking for other people's testimonies to go in my book so we can get the word out. I believe that it is so important.
They should write some books about all the people that are walk away, a chapter on each one or something.
To share the impact that it has on our lives from joining and leaving a societal cult like liberalism, feminism, and BLM. My name is Stephanie Fields. I survived the beautiful trap.
I think we might be starting to turn the corner on that. I'm not sure, but I think so.
And I am never going back. I walked away to find my soul, and I found so much more. Join me. The script is over, and the story is just beginning.
Now, Colin, maybe you can tell me. I guess in Europe, there's an asylum scam that's happening in Europe. Here.
This is him smiling. This is him smiling on his way to court because he, along with 2 others, gang raped a woman on Brighton Beach. This is where they were staying. Their accommodation, food, their stay in England was sponsored by taxpayers. Government is using taxpayer money to have people like this in the country. He is a convicted.
Tammy, I think that'd be our cats in our house with my wife.
Convicted murderer in Egypt. This man met 2 other refugees in that hotel, and they planned to go out on the street at 5 a.m. They were groping women in Brighton, and then they dragged one behind a hut and raped and filmed it. After that, they went back to their hotel, which you're paying for, and they had a barbecue. When they were asked about this in court, they said, "Rape to me is sex." Convicted of murder in 2022, not even 4 years ago. And the UK government are allowing these people to come in, letting them stay in hotels like this and give them free reign on the people of the UK. This is making multi-millionaires of the people who own the hotels, the accommodation. This is one thing that confuses me thoroughly. I cannot for the life of me understand how anyone can see a system like this and think it is a good system. You have convicted murderers being put up in luxury hotels using your money. The government is putting its hand in your pocket, taking money out of your pocket. You're already struggling. They are giving it to wealthy landlords to house convicted murderers. How have people been convinced that it is normal for a government to allow murderers into the country, put them up in hotels, take money out of your pocket to do so, and do that all around the country? I mean, you don't get a say where these people are put. You're not even told who they are. This has happened to many families. I know it might not affect everyone right now, but there are people out there who have had people like this put into their village, their town, and lives have been ruined.
They're doing it all over Europe.
A week or two ago, I talked about a case where a 12-year-old girl was playing on swings in the park, and she was dragged down a cul-de-sac by 2 Afghans off a boat and raped and filmed. And while she was being raped, they were laughing at her, screaming. This system results in the most vulnerable being raped and tortured around the UK, while others profit millions, hundreds of millions off it. And look at the people promoting it. It's wrong.
Yep. It's about the governor, what's her name? Haley. Cares very little about these kids. Watch this.
Because I'm committed to this. Little kids.
But ass love, backdoor.
That was the governor at the beginning here. She's committed to little kids. Watch what she's pushing in these books.
Because I'm committed to this. Little kids.
But ass love, backdoor action. What is it and how do I do it? Hey Boston, have you heard what's going on in your schools? Anal sex is entering the anus and rectum for sexual satisfaction of both partners. If you're using toys or dildos for anal sex, be sure the object has a flared base that is a good deal larger than the anus. Although things can't get lost inside the vagina, they can inside the rectum. His brows rose. I breathed, if I f***ed him for it, what would you do? He at last met my eyes again. You are always free to do what you want, with whomever you want. So if you want to ride him, go ahead. I walked to my mother's room, but it looked different. She looked different. I looked like little baby almost.
They're grooming the kids, really.
She's talking sweet to me like sometimes daddy talks. I'm choking between her legs.
I agree,
She
Colin.
is smelling big woman smell. She says, suck it, lick me, precious. Her hand is like a mountain pushing my head down. I squeeze my eyes shut, but choking don't stop. It get worse. Then I open my eyes and look. I look at little precious and big mama and feel like killing mama.
That's in the schools. Aren't we lucky?
You wrote an article based on a
Elon Musk put this out. Let me go.
Speech you gave at the NatCon conference, which exploded the internet, I think it's fair to say, when super viral, caused a lot of debate and discussion. And it's basically, I mean, I'll let you say it in your own words, but it's kind of a little bit about how the fact that women now control or at least represent the majority of the employees at many institutions is one of the reasons that society has gone the way it has. Is that fair?
I think that's fair to say. Some people have reacted to the piece by, acting as if I'm saying women cause all the problems in the world. I'm definitely not saying that, but I am saying that feminization has caused one specific particular problem, and that is wokeness.
White liberals, that's what
like
it
a lot
is.
of people, I was baffled by the woke phenomenon. Why did
It's white liberals.
Did everyone seemingly go crazy all at once in the summer of 2020? It was inexplicable. It seemed to be mass hysteria, genuinely. And the more I thought about what caused it, which is a very important question, because if we know what causes it, we know how to prevent it from happening in the future. I read an article that someone else wrote that put forward a really simple, elegant thesis, which is that wokeness is simply feminine patterns of behavior applied to institutions where women had not been very well represented until recently. Women tend to be more consensus-focused, consensus-oriented. Men, when they're approaching a moral question, will ask, what are the facts? What are the rules? Whereas women will say, what are the relationships at play here? How can we make everybody happy? How can we reach an outcome that will satisfy all the parties? As opposed to the male perspective of how do we reach an outcome that is just and according to the rules. That sounded a lot like wokeness to me. And the sort of piece that made it all click into place for me was the coincidence of timing. It is the case, just we can all agree as a matter of fact, that a lot of institutions that went woke or were affected by wokeness became demographically female in the last 5 years. Law schools in America turned majority female in 2016, and they've gotten a little bit more female every year since then. I think now it stands at 55, 56%. The New York Times.
It's because they're becoming white liberals. It's not just, you can have a lot of conservative women in there. Part of the reason why it's so many women is because they're giving away scholarships and grants to women, and guys aren't eligible for that. White males, Christian males especially.
Became majority female in its workforce in 2018, which is maybe why it was so susceptible to the fads of wokeness and the internal policing and the Slack revolts that took place internally over there. Medical schools are now majority female. The white-collar workforce overall, employees in the United States with college degrees, a majority of them are women. And managers, management positions in the U.S. workforce, 46% female, so almost majority female. So the fact that all of these institutions tipped over to being majority female around the same time that wokeness emerged seemed to me that couldn't possibly be a coincidence.
And
all part of the
so
plan.
Many questions within that. I guess the first stress test of this argument would be, well, they were also very close to being majority female 10 years prior to that, right? So does going from 48 to 52%, is that really such a major shift that it would cause something as dramatic as that?
Well, you'd be surprised. I thought that the higher education workforce.
And a lot of these colleges are teaching classes or things about gender studies and crap like that, and they're coming out of college learning that crap. And that's why they're so far left. It's what they're teaching in the schools, too, that's changing it.
Professors in the United States would have gone female ages and ages ago, but it actually only tipped female in 2023. So we think of feminization as something that happened a long time ago, but it really does take a certain amount of time for time to pass and older generations to retire. But
more women were stay-at-home moms back then.
I think the reason why attaining a critical
they're trying to get rid of the family unit
mass of women has such a dramatic effect is that we're not talking about individual differences between individual men and individual women, but differences in group dynamics. For example, you might be able to say from the perspective of psychology as a discipline that women tend to be more emotional than men and men tend to be more rational, or any kind of generalization about men and women might have a certain amount of empirical support based on surveys. But at the end of the day, those differences are not massive, right? Like female support for free speech is great.
It's the ones coming out of the colleges taking these courses that are so far left.
Or is less than male by double digits, but not, it's not like night and day. But when it comes to group dynamics, how does an organization function? How does an institution deal with conflict? When you're talking about those kinds of things, those tend to be more binary. Like either you solve your conflicts within an organization in a masculine way or in a feminine way. Either open conflict is something that your institution will tolerate or it's not. So that's the kind of thing where once you get a critical mass, you really kind of have to pick which one you're going to do.
Well, you mentioned consensus and sort of empathy and including all perspectives. That really isn't what happened with wokeness, though, is it? Because it was more like, we've come to a new consensus and anyone who doesn't agree is going to get killed, basically. Is that really, I mean, that might be the way women deal with this on a group basis. I don't know. You tell me.
No, it's hard to verbalize some of these differences because it might be a convenient shorthand to say men are more comfortable with conflict than women. I think that makes a lot of sense, right? But a famous psychology study, very often if you're studying gender differences, and you're a psychologist, the way you'll do your study is you'll just go to a playground and watch the kids playing and observe and count up how many times somebody hits somebody else or something like that. And there was an experiment of that type done, I believe, in Scandinavia, and it had a really funny outcome. The psychologists observed the kids playing and counted up how many fights they had. And they said, okay, we observe that the men fight a lot more than the girls. But then as a supplement, they decided to confirm their observations by talking to the kids and saying, how many fights did you have today, Billy? Or how many fights did you have today, Sally? And their discrepancy was huge. They found that the girls reported having just as many fights as the men. The level of conflict, male and female, on that schoolyard was exactly the same. But their observations had failed to record any of the female conflicts, because when they asked the girls, oh, you had a fight today, what did that entail? It was things like Megan said she was going to tell everybody they couldn't be my friend anymore.
Which is where words of violence comes from, would be, I imagine, your argument.
That's right. That's right. And one of the most consistent psychological differences between men and women is women have a strong impulse of caring, right? Which is exactly, I mean, I'm not somebody who looks to...
That's where the nurturing comes in, I think.
Evolutionary biology for the solutions to all human phenomena. But this particular one does seem glaringly Darwinian, right? That women see helpless things and they want to take care of them. That is definitely something that Darwin would find a pretty easy explanation for. But that's also something that wokeness can easily weaponize. It means that if you can frame your political issue as a way of caring for some helpless class, then you're golden, right?
Minorities are babies.
That's right. But that is precisely what's going on at a deeper level. And that's why it's been so effective.
And Helen, your article, and I encourage everyone to read it, it's fascinating whether you agree or disagree with it, but you cited one particular case, which is the former president of Harvard. So let's talk about that, because you use it as the main example for the thrust of your argument.
That's right. This was back in 2005. So this is before anybody had ever heard of wokeness. Now, I don't know if your listeners in the UK will be familiar with Larry Summers, but he was at that time probably one of the 10 most powerful people in the country. He was not just the president of Harvard. He had also been in Bill Clinton's cabinet. He had been at the World Bank. He was an academically eminent economist, very well connected in the Democratic Party, just a really powerful guy.
A real leftist.
He was invited to give a speech at a conference on female underrepresentation in science and math, and he decided to deliver his remarks off the cuff.
There's more of them, how they underrepresented.
And actually, if you know anything about Larry Summers, he has a reputation for being a really blunt guy. He's somebody who does not suffer fools gladly. So when you're getting the blunt Larry Summers, you're really getting something quite direct. But the talk was supposed to be off the record. And that's important to emphasize, that the women who listened to what he said and took it to a reporter were violating the rules that they had undertaken to follow when they attended. Anyway, he said that female underrepresentation in the hard sciences was attributable to a lot of different factors, not necessarily just prejudice or bias or the patriarchy not thinking ladies can be scientists. There is a difference of aptitude at the very, very, very high ends.
Yeah, men tend to do better at math and science, and women's at language skills and stuff like that.
So if you're talking about people who are going to be tenured at MIT, that's the way out at the end of the bell curve, and there tend to be more men out there than women. And also differences in taste. That is, women tend to gravitate towards professions and fields where they get to deal with people, as opposed to...
You don't dare tell the truth, though.
Something really cold and abstract like physics. Not to say that no women do, but that is the tendency. So women who are way out there at that end of the bell curve and have the aptitude for a career in hard science would maybe gravitate to something like medicine as opposed to something like physics. So Larry Summers said all this, and there were a bunch of lady scientists in the audience who said, "How dare you?" And they gave quotes to a reporter, something like, "I felt like I was going to throw up," or "I thought I was going to black out." And it became a huge controversy. And there were a lot of other controversies during Larry Summers.
Wouldn't be surprised if they tried to get him fired.
His tenure as president of Harvard. So that was not the only thing that brought him down, but it was definitely at the very top of the list. And about a year later, he resigned.
And what's really interesting is with that case, and now I don't doubt that it caused a massive stir when he went on and basically went, "I'm going to freestyle and deliver truth bombs to all of you. So here we are, enjoy it." But he's also, if you get to be president of Harvard, you are going to make enemies.
So no one else dares speak up there. That's what happens.
Plenty. In order to get to that position, you're going to have to fire people, antagonize people, because that's just...
And you have the same thing with the trans issue.
The nature of the job. So he would have had loads of enemies who were willing just to pounce at that particular moment, surely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm trying to remember some of the other controversies that have attended Larry Summers' career, and I believe one from his tenure at the World Bank was when he said, are we sure we want to really, really enforce labor laws against having sweatshops in third world countries? Because isn't having sweatshops good for them sometimes? I mean, it leads to economic development. He phrased it in a really blunt way. So like, this is a guy who has a history of putting his foot in his mouth in a way that I frankly find really admirable.
Yeah. But certain people don't. So then has that been extrapolated right the way through society, essentially, is your argument?
That was one of the first times that a cancellation happened, that people heard somebody say something offensive, pitched a little fit, and managed to rob this person of his job. And the particular aspect of
the colleges are too weak-kneed on that stuff anyways.
That seemed so full of foreboding looking back is that there was no attempt to debate the issue rationally. There were plenty of people, even people on the Harvard faculty, with eminent expertise in the relevant scientific fields, willing to stand up and say everything Larry Summers said was perfectly within the scientific mainstream. Greater male variability hypothesis, that's, everybody thinks that. So there were people willing to say he's right on the facts. Criticize him all you want for his tone, but he was right on the facts. And the women who went after his...
I don't care about the tone that much, and they don't stop.
...job were not willing to have that debate. They were not willing to talk about it rationally. They just said, I'm offended. I felt like I was going to black out. He was invalidating my...
Too bad you're offended.
...career. This is everything I worked for. Very much a feelings over facts.
This is what we get from the safe spaces.
Kind of thing. And so I don't mind if there are people who are feminists or who have different political views to those that I have, but it's important that we be able to debate them, right? That we have rational arguments. And this was one of the first instances where people just said, no, I'm not gonna debate it. I'm just gonna say I'm offended, and that's gonna be the end of the story.
Because Jordan Peterson used to talk a lot about this, where he used to talk about one of the ways that females try and destroy or attack other people isn't through the physical realm, it's through reputation destruction. And this is essentially what you're talking about, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I thought that was kind of interesting. Okay, this is about all 50 states. The Supreme Court was a 9-0 ruling protecting gun rights because some of these left-wing states are going too far trying to take away the rights of gun owners. Like even Minor or whatever her name is, that black lady, the real leftist even went with the majority on this one. This is how far the left had gone on this.
A unanimous Supreme Court decision came down this
I don't know if I remembered a 9-0 decision in a very long time.
Morning that fundamentally rewrites gun law in America. And here's what makes this historic. All 9 justices agreed, including the 3 liberal justices who have consistently voted to uphold gun restrictions. When Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson joined the conservative majority in striking down gun control laws. Something massive just happened. This 9 ruling just invalidated major gun restrictions in all 50 states and fundamentally changed what governments can do to regulate firearms.
Too bad John and Gregory aren't here. They'd like this one.
Firearms. Hit that subscribe button right now, because this decision affects that this was unanimous, not 54, not 63, but 9, tells you that state and federal gun control had become so extreme that even the court's most liberal members couldn't defend it anymore. Here's what just happened. Jurist lawyers on April 24th, 2026, the Supreme Court issued its decision in United States versus Henderson, a consolidated case reviewing federal and state gun regulations under the Second Amendment. The court ruled 9-0 that strict scrutiny, the highest level of constitutional review, applies to all Second Amendment restrictions. More importantly, the court struck down 5 categories of gun regulations that exist in nearly every state. Permit to purchase requirements, mandatory waiting periods beyond background check time, training mandates as permit prerequisites, good cause requirements, and discretionary approval systems. Chief Justice Roberts wrote the majority opinion joined by all 8 other justices. Here's the critical language. The Second Amendment codifies a pre-existing right. Government may not condition the exercise of this right on permission, approval, or delay beyond what is necessary to verify eligibility. The default is liberty. Worse, yes. Restrictions require the highest level of justification. Let me break down exactly what this ruling does, how it affects each state differently, what gun owners can now do legally, how states are responding, and the critical next steps to lock in this victory. Number 1, here's what the Supreme Court struck down with this 9-0 decision. The court identified 5 categories of gun regulations that fail constitutional scrutiny and are now unenforceable nationwide. Category 1, permit to purchase systems that require government approval before buying firearms. This includes laws in Illinois, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Maryland, New Jersey, Hawaii, and Rhode Island that make you get a permit card before purchasing a handgun. The court held these are prior restraints on constitutional rights that cannot be justified. Category 2,
New York, I've heard of people taking well over 11 years to get their license for a permit to get a gun.
Waiting periods that extend beyond the time needed to complete.
And they found another way is they tax the living crap out of the bullets and cost you like, I don't know, some ridiculous amount. Like I'm just throwing a number out there, like $100 a bullet or some stupid thing.
Complete background checks. Most states have waiting periods. California's 10-day wait, Florida's 3-day wait, Rhode Island's 7-day wait. The court said states can require background checks, but once the check is complete, delay is unconstitutional. Chubby Ut Category 3, mandatory training requirements as prerequisites for carrying or owning firearms. States cannot require you to complete government-approved training courses before exercising Second Amendment rights. Training can be offered and encouraged, but not mandated. Category 4, good cause or proper purpose requirements for carry permits. The few remaining may issue states, California, Hawaii, Maryland, and some counties can no longer require applicants to prove special need for self-defense. Category 5, discretionary approval systems where officials have subjective authority to deny permits. All permits must be shall issue based on objective criteria. No more discretion to deny based on nebulous suitability standards. If you're finding this helpful, imagine what you'll learn in my next video where I break down which states lose the most gun control laws and what's happening right now as they scramble to comply. Subscribe so you don't miss it.
Well, the other thing is, I'm fast forward a little bit. They'll try to find another way of writing the language. That's what they'll do. They'll change the wording a little bit, but they'll still have the same thing happening to you. They're desperate to take them away from us if they want to get that whole 1984 thing.
Others are barely affected. Most affected states losing 10 plus restrictions: California, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Massachusetts.
Surprised New York isn't the top one.
Hawaii, Illinois, Connecticut, Delaware, Rhode Island. Cheers. These had permit to purchase, long waiting periods, training mandates, may issue carry, and discretionary denials. All now unconstitutional.
I wonder how soon that those will be thrown out. Like we can go and get them now. I don't have a gun here. I live in New York because it's so hard.
Moderately affected, losing 3 out of 5 restrictions: Washington, Oregon, Colorado, Minnesota, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Florida. Some waiting periods, training requirements, or local discretionary systems now invalid. Minimally affected, losing 0 to 2 restrictions. The 25 constitutional carry states plus shall issue states with minimal requirements. Specific state changes: California's 10-day wait reduced to background check time, 1 to hours. Firearms safety certificate now voluntary. May issue counties become shall issue. New York CCIA training requirements void. Illinois FOID card system struck down. 72-hour wait gone. New Jersey permit to purchase invalidated. Number 3, here's what gun owners can now do legally that was prohibited before. This ruling expands gun rights immediately in restrictive states. You can now purchase firearms without permit cards. In states that required permits to purchase IL, MA, CT, MD, NJ, HI, RI, you can now buy handguns with just a background check, like buying a rifle. Walk into a store, pass the check, walk out with your gun. You can now carry concealed without proving special need. In remaining May issue jurisdictions, you no longer need to prove you face specific threats. The right to carry is presumed. Apply, pass the background check, get your permit. You can now buy firearms without waiting weeks. No more 7-day, 10-day, or 14-day mandatory holds. States can still run background checks, but once complete, they must release the firearm immediately. You can now carry without completing mandatory training courses. States that required 8-hour, 16-hour, or multi-day training before issuing permits can no longer enforce those requirements. Training is recommended but not required. You can now apply for permits without discretionary denial risk. Officials cannot deny based on subjective judgment. If you meet objective criteria, age, background check, not prohibited, they must issue. Quick legal note. This is educational information about the Supreme Court decision and its impact on gun laws. This is not legal advice. Gun laws are changing rapidly. Always verify current requirements.
I bet you rush to pass something else.
In your jurisdiction and consult with a firearms attorney before making legal decisions. Hey, 73% of people watching right now aren't subscribed. Don't be part of that group. Join the 50,000 gun owners who get these constitutional victory updates first. Click that subscribe button because next week I'm revealing which states are complying versus which are resisting this ruling. Number 4, how states are responding. Responses fall into 3 categories: immediate compliance, constitutional carry states, and most shall states say they're already compliant. Texas, Florida, Georgia, Arizona, Tennessee, unchanged. Delayed compliance, California, Washington, Oregon, Colorado need 30-90 days to update systems, train staff, revise forms. Resistance, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, Hawaii, exploring workarounds. They'll replace permit to purchase with mandatory free training, waiting periods with cooling off justifications, may issue with shall issue, plus 20 difficult objective requirements. Gun rights organizations are preparing to challenge every workaround. Strict scrutiny makes new restrictions very hard to justify. Number 5, why this 9 vote is historically significant. Unanimous decisions in major constitutional cases are extremely rare. No previous Second Amendment case was unanimous. All were split. The Justices Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson joined signals gun control had become constitutionally indefensible. These justices dissented in every gun rights case, but even they couldn't defend permit to purchase, extended waiting periods, and discretionary denials. Roberts wrote a remarkably strong opinion establishing strict scrutiny, the same standard used for free speech and religious liberty. Government must prove prove restrictions are narrowly tailored to serve compelling interests using least restrictive means. This framework dooms most gun control. Assault weapon bans, magazine limits, age restrictions beyond 18, and red flag laws without strong due process will face strict scrutiny challenges. The court also rejected interest balancing. Rights don't depend on judges' policy preferences. The Second Amendment means what it meant at ratification. Number 6, what this means for future gun legislation. This ruling changes gun policy debates fundamentally. For Congress, new federal gun control nearly impossible under strict scrutiny. Universal background checks might pass if narrowly tailored. Assault weapon bans won't. Magazine
John?
limits won't. For state legislators,
Where's John? He should be watching this about the gun 9-0 decision on the Supreme Court.
era of experimental gun control is over. Every law must be historically grounded and narrowly tailored from day one. For courts, every gun case now uses strict scrutiny. No more deferring to legislative judgment. For gun owners, litigation just became much more winnable. Even entrenched restrictions are vulnerable. Number 7, here's your action plan to take advantage of this ruling and protect your expanded rights. Action step 1, know what changed in your state. If you're in CA, NY, NJ, IL, MA, MD, HI, CT, or RI, major restrictions just fell. Research exactly what's now unenforceable and what's still required. Action step 2, exercise your newly recognized rights. If you've been waiting to buy a gun because of permit requirements or waiting periods, now is the time. Don't let temporary workarounds re-restrict what the court just protected. Action step 3, get carry permits under the new shall issue standard. If you're in a former may issue jurisdiction, apply now before states try to create new objective barriers. Action step 4, document state resistance. If officials try to enforce invalidated laws, document everything. File complaints, contact gun rights organizations. State violations of...
A lot of these governors are going to try to sign some executive orders or some type of crap to try to keep the gun rights away from you.
Supreme Court rulings are grounds for federal civil rights lawsuits. Action step 5, support litigation groups. SAF, FPC, and others will challenge state workarounds. They need funding and members to fight the next wave of restrictions. Action step 6, stay informed about new legislation. States will pass compliance bills that really just shift burdens. Track what's proposed and oppose unconstitutional replacements. Action step 7, vote for gun rights. This ruling only happened because President appointed justices who respect the Constitution. Elections determine whether these victories are protected or reversed. Here's the bottom line. The Supreme Court just issued a unanimous 9-0 decision striking down major gun restrictions in all 50 states and establishing strict scrutiny for all Second Amendment cases. Permit to purchase, extended waiting periods, training mandates, good cause requirements, and discretionary approval are unconstitutional. The most restrictive states just lost 10 plus major restrictions. Gun owners can now buy firearms without permits, carry without proving special need, and exercise rights without government approval. The 9-0 vote tells you even liberal justices recognize gun control had gone too far. The constitutional question is settled, but states will resist with workarounds designed to comply technically while burdening rights.
That's exactly what they're going to do in New York, I guarantee you.
Stay vigilant, support litigation, and exercise rights before new restrictions take effect. This is the most important gun rights victory in American history. More significant than Heller, McDonald, or Bruen. Strict scrutiny changes everything. Subscribe right now because next week I reveal which states are complying and which are resisting. Plus, how to challenge state officials who ignore this ruling. Share this with every gun owner. Most have no idea this decision just came down. Remember, this is educational information about Supreme Court decisions. Always consult with an attorney for specific legal situations. All 50 states are on notice. Gun rights just won at the highest level. Use them. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one where we
and make sure when you talk to your lawyer, they're up on the new law.
Break down the first challenges to state workaround legislation.
They have to be. All right, I'm going to drag this over now. Wednesday. Let me get this out of the way. This Lauren Penton is coming on as a guest on Tuesday at 5 Eastern time. I was going to play her a couple of her reels, at least this one here, and it's pretty good, actually.
I'm from East Austin. Of course there's no laws around here. My opponent defunded the police in 2020. I'm from East Austin. Of course you can go in here and get free syringes and pipes to do drugs on the taxpayer dime. Safety first. From East Austin.
She's running for Congress.
I got shot out of Booker T a few times. My city is a war zone. From East Austin. Of course my kids' great-great-grandparents were forcibly moved here in the 1930s because of segregation. From East Austin. Of course this is how it looks around here. My opponent doesn't even live here. He lives in San Antonio, so he doesn't feel the effects of his policies. I'm from East Austin. Of course it's not safe to take my kids to the library. I'm running for Congress, and when I get those federal funds, I'm bringing the money back to the east side, north side, and south side, so we can be like the west side. I'm from East Austin.
Real ones no break now. Real ones no break now.
Real ones no break.
We bend but don't fold.
Pressure go
I'm from
next
guys are taking off private planes, flying up to Illinois, staying in hotels, and eating luxury dinners. Now I find out you're sitting here fundraising while you're doing it. I'm completely appalled. The state of Texas is completely appalled. It cost the taxpayers over $1 million. I feel like that was political grand larceny to the state of Texas. You guys are taking off private planes, flying up to Illinois, staying.
I don't know. What do you think, Tammy? She's run for Congress right there from Austin, Texas. Now that the districts have been redrawn, that's why she's running, because she has a good shot now. It's part of Austin, but part of it's a liberal area as well, you know. So what's your thoughts on that? I wouldn't mind getting your 2 cents on that. I'm going to do a little humor next.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 47th President of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, accompanied by First Lady Mrs. Melania Trump.
I got Trump derangement syndrome. I hate the motherfucker.
Got left.
TDS. Democrats have TDS. You can't catch it.
Yeah, Tammy, true. I've talked to her. They've redrawn the lines, so she's in part of Austin, not all of Austin. And so her district is kind of, she says 50-50. She's got a good shot of winning it.
From French kissing, no, it's all inside your head. What is...
Didn't they redraw the lines there in Texas, Tammy?
There's more, there's no cure, makes you dumb
it's
and
for a house
immature. Watch the fake news, it's atrocious. See their hatred so ferocious. They can scream, they can shout. Some will threaten to move out. And
I know Antifa's in Austin there.
Expatriate like Ellen DeGeneres. Although it may confound you, yes, it's all around you. TDS, TDS, TDS. When you're down in the dumps, you can blame it all on Trump. There is no accountability if you're living like a chump. You're alone on your phone. Hear his voice, it makes you moan. That's when you increase your drinking. Say goodbye to critical thinking. He tells jokes, you get ill. Now it's him you wish to kill. To democracy, he's an existential threat. Come on, put down your drink. It's time to call your shrink for TDS. If you're stressed, an exorcist. If you're possessed with TDS, TDS, TDS. Life, it's so confusing for a libtard who is using blue sky, TikTok, mainstream media. Ah, those good old days when news was truthful. Suddenly, those good old days are gone. 10 years we've been seething like crybabies who are teething, but we cannot win alone on policy. Most days we just try hard to impeach him. Biden old and lazy, Kamala was batshit crazy.
TDS, TDS, how the left is all obsessed. Righteous hold are ignored, violent fantasies confessed. With each rally, chant and scream, Antifa on every street. While the cops do their arresting, agitators manifesting. We'll break laws Was that a show?
I don't know. It'll probably say it's up here in the upper corner with that flag thing.
Film it quick. We want the country
eagle.
all the guys. We've got a lot to do.
I got 3 or 4 of them. I'll play.
TDS,
I'll get to the main.
TDS is the Mars we all detest. It's 10 years since Obama was in charge and we're all depressed. It's a real bad disease. You can catch it just like fleas. While my iPhone light's still glowing on that sweet anger scrolling. Count by count, one by one. They said guilty, still he won. Yet no matter what we do, he's still the press. Next time we've got to ring it, but for now we're intrigued. TBS. 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 TBS.
And I'll just end with this. I would rather stick forks in my eyes than be here tonight to listen to Donald Trump.
I got Trump derangement syndrome. And you know what? I don't want to get rid of it. I don't want to get better. I want to get worse.
That guy needs a padded room, and really soon.
I want to hate him more. I pray to God in heaven, God reign the righteous reign of Trump derangement syndrome. Pray for me, Lord. I'm your vessel on this earth. Pray for the people that listen to this. We want more. We want to hate the son of a bitch so much that we can't see straight.
Count by count, one by one. They said guilty, still he won. Yet no matter what we do, he's still the press. Next time we've got to ring it.
Patreon or something like that, it's called. I'm not sure exactly. Here's another one by Dylan. This is if the Democrats take control again. They're going to cut down the wall and let them all in.
The following preview is a hypothetical depiction of the future you deserve if you don't take action right now. This film has been rated R
he is a disgrace.
For Republican. The year is 2030. The Republican Party hasn't won an election since 2024. They lost the 2026 midterms along with the White House in 2028 because Trump's agenda never made it through the Senate. Every piece of America First legislation was...
Mostly with the voting rights things, the IDs and stuff like that, and getting people off the voter rolls.
...blocked by the 60-vote procedural rule, otherwise
Those are all
known as the
scumbags.
filibuster. It was all a colossal...
Scumbags all the way across there.
...waste of time. Democrats currently control the White House, the Congress, as well as the Senate. The first thing they did was eliminate the filibuster so they could ram their radical agenda through the Senate completely unopposed. Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico are both states now. That gave the Democrats 4
they'll get Senate and House seats.
4 extra Senate seats forever. They added 7 more judges to the Supreme
And they'll change all the voting rights and everything.
Court, so conservatives are now outvoted on every decision for the foreseeable future. 5 of them are cross-dressing weirdos. Christianity is now illegal nationwide. Anyone caught praying or even owning a Bible is crucified in front of the Capitol. But it didn't have to be this way. It could have easily been avoided. All it would have taken was a small handful of weak and stupid Republicans to kill the filibuster back in 2025, when they had control of the White House and majorities in both the House and the Senate.
It doesn't make any sense that a Republican would not want to do that.
After witnessing the miracle in July of 2024, it also doesn't make any sense for Republicans to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Yet here we are. If only people would have put more pressure on their representatives to kill the filibuster when they had the opportunity, the future would have turned out completely different.
Voter ID, no mail-in voting, no cash bail.
All those, yes.
No men and women's sports.
Yes.
No welfare for illegals.
Yes.
You could go on and on. This is 2 pages of things we'd do if you did that. Without it, I don't know that you passed anything.
Which future do you want, Republicans?
You must choose. But choose wisely.
This has been another public service announcement, paid for by the Dilly Meme Team.
They're really good. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be liberals. Here we go.
How did we get here?
how much this country hates women. So awesome.
I'm not going to class today because I
don't own the rights to the music if this is copyrighted.
No, I know who I am. Trust me, I know who I am.
Stop it. Get some help.
Liberals ain't easy to love, and they're just kind of slow. They'd rather just silence your voice than prove what they know.
You almost sing with it. Don't know the exact words.
Star-studded bow rings and cheap purple hair dye. Each TikTok is filled with new rage. If you don't listen to them, they don't reproduce. They probably just fade away.
Most of them, once they have numbers, they get violent.
Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be liberals. Don't let them get degrees in communist stuff. Let them get real jobs and do work that's tough. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be liberals. They'll never think straight, they're always confused, even when you prove them wrong. Liberals are snowflakes and they need a safe place to hide in.
They did a good job.
They're like little cute slogans of illegals working time.
They did a good job on this.
And when their policy don't match democracy, that's when you better look out. They'll set out to cheat in or give you a beating or find someone who will take you out.
They always get violent.
Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be liberal. Don't let them get degrees in communist stuff. Let them get real jobs and do work that's tough. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be liberal. They'll never think straight, they're always confused, even when you prove them wrong. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be liberal.
Oh, she needs a straitjacket, I tell you. So does she.
Let them get real jobs and do work that's tough.
Good stuff, I tell you. They make a lot of good stuff these days. All right, we're going to get on with the other stuff here. About
Why are they
Tucker.
lying about Tucker Carlson's numbers? 56.8 million is what they're saying. They're saying that's all of his viewership. But somebody just got into
part of that is Iran's watching him now. A lot of the they're sending on state TV out there in Iran.
his systems,
Part of the numbers
and
is
the
that.
numbers
Probably
are vastly different than what the media is
40% of it.
reporting. So Impulsive is saying Tucker Carlson runs on a database called Supabase with no access control, so anybody can query it and then count the rows. The user profiles table, which holds every account that has ever registered on his platform, has 7,290 entries. That's how many people are subscribed to Tucker Carlson's show. The 56.8 million number on TCN's infographic isn't subscribers. Read the fine print. Average episode views across socials and podcast platforms. That means that they are adding up all the different platforms: YouTube, X, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and everywhere else. So again, why are they lying about the numbers? And he only has 7,000 subscribers.
That doesn't make sense.
And you're saying that he has 58 million, 56.8
Most of them are from the regime in Iran. It has to go through to every TV there.
million views per episode. Does that math add up to you? Someone else also got into his systems, and allegedly most of
They're
his
showing in Iraq
viewership
too.
is from foreign countries. And the other sus thing about all of this is the same agency
Muslim
that
countries.
pushes out Tucker Carlson works with Candice Owens. So, how much of their engagement is real? And how many subscribers do they actually legitimately have? What do you guys think of this? By the way, I need to add that this is all alleged because, I need to protect myself, but I fully believe it. What do you guys think? Let me know.
I don't know. Yeah, he's got a little bit Carrie K, along with Candice.
Here it is. It finally happened. Charlie Kirk's estate has sued Candace Owens, or more accurately, Charlie Kirk's head of security has sued Candace Owens, the man who was standing behind Charlie Kirk when he was assassinated. Brian Harpole, somebody who has been a target of Candace, is now suing, ladies and gentlemen, in the United States District Court in the Middle District of Tennessee. And Brian Harpole has one hell of a lawsuit here. We're going to rip through all of it. I don't claim to be a lawyer or some type of legal professional, but I do have access to AI, and I do have access to some attorneys who have given me some insight into what's going on here. And as you can see, this is a extensive lawsuit. I'm just scrolling through here, not trying to make you sick, but it involves Candace Owens's private text messages, social media posts, enormous amounts of tea, and what it says is a absolute and total qualified pattern of defamation and harassment of Charlie Kirk's head of security, and total and complete fabrications and lies that will withstand the very high bar to prove defamation in this country. And that's not me saying that. That's, well, experts in the legal profession saying it. It's going to be quite a lawsuit here. So here's what they ask, that there is an injunction against Candace Owens, that she be banned from republishing, reposting anything about the people who are suing her, and then award compensatory damages, including economic damages for lost income, non-economic damages for mental anguish, pain, suffering, and the amount to be proven at trial. Awards punitive damages for intentional, egregious, and malicious conduct, which could be in the tune of, I don't know, what are we going to look at here? Alex Jones? If you're looking at Alex Jones, then it could be billions and billions of dollars. That's what this could be. Here is Matt Sarlison, who is an attorney with the Dillon Law Group. He's representing here. On behalf of Brian Harpole, I filed this defamation suit against Candace Owens and Mitchell Snow. This is the individual who claimed that there was some type of secret military meeting to kill Charlie Kirk, and went on Candace Owens's show and talked about it. We will not be providing any other statements. You can follow me for updates. So this is the one and only post here. And the Dillon Law Group, this is, of course, of Harmeet Dillon, who is currently the Assistant Attorney General. Dillon Law Group partner, on behalf of Brian Harpole, filed a defamation lawsuit against Candace Owens. We will not be providing any further statement. Okay. So let's look at some lines that have been highlighted in this lawsuit. Throughout her career, Owens has demonstrated a pattern of seeking public attention and media exposure in an apparent effort to maintain relevance, increase engagement on her platforms. Owens repeatedly makes inflammatory and highly controversial statements. And this is what AI says about the lawsuit. And then we're going to jump to some of the larger reactions on the internet. Listen, my major takeaway before I read you the breakdown here, which it looks pretty strong, I mean, to be honest with you, and I try and keep my nose clean of the drama here, but since I do this professionally, it's time to not stop with the both sides of some stuff. You either bring it, right? You either bring your receipts, you show people what you're talking about, or you don't have any receipts and you're a effing liar. So bring your receipts, or you don't have receipts. If you don't have receipts, then shut up, right? As somebody who's been doing this for a very long time and has been through a lot, I got to tell you, this whole oh, there's receipts. Oh, I got it on you. Oh, this winking and nodding and raising of the eyebrows and this pussyfooting around. Drop it or don't. Okay, you got something, out with it. That's why we're constantly banging on about transparency on our show, and it's why we have an entire research team that is constantly like providing the evidence, and we put it up on screen and you can read it yourself. And sometimes you might come to the different conclusion than me, but at least you'll see the same thing I'm seeing. Okay. That's the rule at what we do. And I'm just sick of so many people on the internet like, oh, I got receipts on you. I got receipts on you. Never any receipts. Nothing. Nobody ever got nothing. It's just grifter clickbaiting. And that is what it is. And so, let's read. What is this? Because I'm not a legal expert. I'm no lawyer. So what does Claude think? Here we go. The complaint is notably well constructed around the actual malice standard, which matters whether or not Harpole is deemed a private or limited purpose public figure. If you're a public figure, it's so much harder to prove malice. Key factual hooks is powerful. Owens admitted on the record in a public post that she had viewed Harpole's flight records. She then continued publishing the Fort Huachuca accusation anyway, the whole everybody gathered at a military base to kill Charlie. This sequence, if it holds up in discovery, is close to his textbook reckless disregard for truth or falsity, and the complaint also benefits the extensive documentary evidence, screenshots, timestamps, view counts, and Owens' own text messages. Harpole are already in the public record. Fort Huachuca accusation is actionable on its face. It is a specific factual claim, named person, attended, specific date, specific military base, specific time for a specific purpose, demonstrably and verifiably false. Courts have consistently treated this type of statement differently from opinion or rhetorical hyperbole, which of course I engage in. I have opinions on things. I have hyperbole. We use colorful language on this show. But when you are making specific allegations, there are responsibilities that come with them. Owens is framing as an investigative journalist actually cuts against her here, since it undercuts a mere entertainment opinion defense. The civil conspiracy count, which is harder to prove, benefits from the documented coordination. Snow, this is Candice's source on all this, first contacted Owens privately. She broadcast his account. Then she invited him back for an
Turns out the Snow guy's a leftist.
Extended interview, telling her all while telling her audience that she found the story credible and promising to help fund Snow's efforts, documented course of conduct. So what's the result here? Overall, the core defamation claim tied to the Fort Huachuca narrative is meaningfully strong, particularly if discovery confirms that Owens's flight records showed that what the complaint alleges, the combination of verifiable false factual claim, documented evidence, and the defendant is contradicting evidence before publishing. This is a measurable harm to private business, makes it materially better case than most conspiracy-driven defamation suits. That said, I'm not a lawyer.
The flight records show that they're lying about anyone being there where the person was supposed to be at this military meeting, supposedly to kill Charlie Kirk. They're just going after Erica Kirk for no reason.
The ultimate outcome will depend heavily on discovery. Okay. So
the head of the security was supposed to fly somewhere when there was proof that he was somewhere else. There's video proof of him being in another event.
We'll see, ladies and gentlemen, what happens. But yeah, I mean, listen, as somebody who does this, as somebody who gets sued, right? You
can get on video and say anything, but prove it.
Is someone who is constantly feeling the pressure of having to back up your claims. You have to back up your claims. This whole I have receipts. I'm going to drop receipts. I'm going to drop receipts. There's no receipts. Is going to be devastating, and eventually it's going to catch up with you. Brian Harpole, Charlie Kirk's chief of security, has filed defamation suits against Owens. Owens publicly accused Harpole of conspiring U.S. military Fort Huachuca to assassinate Charlie Kirk alongside Erica, representative, and Cabot Phillips in her own.
And he's never been there.
Words promoting the story. Charlie Kirk was assassinated by our military, and our military was involved. I can't wait to share this information with you guys.
It's okay, Tammy.
The story rested entirely on Mitchell Snow, who claimed inadvertently he walked into a top secret meeting on an army base. Per the complaint, the claim is verifiably false. Harpole was in Dallas that morning. Has never been to Fort Huachuca.
There's proof that he was in Dallas that morning. So how could he be there?
This would be things that would be pretty easy to prove. Owens had flight records. She admitted as much on X, yet kept publishing anyway. Without even a modicum of substance or evidence, she publicly accused Harpole of foreknowledge, participation in the cover-up assassination of Charlie Kirk. 69 pages, jury trial demanded, seeking millions of dollars, filed in Tennessee. Another critical point is if you have proof, if somebody has provided you proof, like a public statement on the record, like for instance, that's what Melania just did with Epstein, a public statement on the record that for everyone to see about like what's true, and then people keep publishing false information, then that's actionable. Okay. So it's very interesting. They're pulling records now on Candice. I don't know what you think about this. I'm not try to keep my nose clean on this stuff, but it does affect the
Usually I stay out of it. It's gotten really deep in bullshit.
Ecosystem. I mean, it is, right? It is. Candice Owens being sued. You shouldn't, quite frankly, I don't know Brian Harpole personally. I do know members of Charlie's security team personally. I know Charlie personally, and I built with him at Turning Point for close to a decade. So these are some of the best guys on planet Earth. And they would have given their lives for Charlie. And what's done is done. But if you're going to make a claim like this, that they went and got Charlie killed, or were trying to get Charlie killed, well, you damn well better bring it. You damn well better have your so-called receipts, right? This of course comes on the heels of President Trump going after Candice, Erica Kirk, now going after Candice quite like publicly and naming her. The Turning Point team sharing receipts on Candice, right?
For some reason, Candice really hates Erica Kirk.
Candice here saying, I never said that Erica killed Charlie, but then they have the actual literal receipts, right? First question, why did you murder your husband? Okay. And then Charlie Kirk's head of security actually doing media on this to say that this is false. These are the kind of things that can be proved, like that go on to show that you said you made a public statement that something is false, and then somebody continued with the false claims in spite of the fact that you said it was false, right? So here is Brian Harpole, is on Sean Ryan's show, talking about how this is all false. Come to your own conclusions. But I'm telling you, don't trust people who won't show you the evidence, right? And if it's just gossip and vindictive backbiting and nasty grams that are all based on vibes and your feelings at the time, then you're gonna have a real tough time when people start suing you. And from what I hear, it's ain't gonna be the last one. I hear this is gonna be just the start. Canada's already being sued by the First Lady of France. It is what it is, right? So, high stakes game. Come correct. Here's Brian Harpole, defending his actions and himself. Here we go.
I remember, I was like, man, that's a long time. We need to get this autopsy done and done right so that there's not some conspiracy. So, you're starting to think forward to that. And so I remember I was standing next to the chief of staff and the vice president called. And the vice president asked him, what do you need? And then he looked at me and said, what do we need? And I said, we need an autopsy now. So for these people that are saying there wasn't one done, go away. It was done. It was done. Do it for you. Yeah. Get the report when it comes out. It was done. It was done.
I don't know. Put your 2 cents in on that. Yeah. What was it? What was it? Oh, I just forgot what I just said in the thing. Liking her and proving that she killed her husband are 2 different things to me. And I don't know if it. Anyways, and being a puppet of who? I don't know who you should be a puppet of. You wouldn't want your husband dead, you wouldn't think.
My husband and I decided we were done with insurance, health insurance, so we just opted out. And our premium was going to go up $500 a month for a family of 4. But anyway, we're like, screw this. We'll just pay cash. I just had a mammogram. And what they charge your insurance, I got a letter that was like, oh, your estimated cost is $800. And I'm like, cheaper than what we were paying for our monthly premium. So I'll deal with it. And I get in here and they were like, oh, this is what the cost of a mammogram is, $1,500. But since you're no insurance, we are charging you $95. But since you're paying cash, you are only charged $75. And I'm just like, insurance is a scam. It's a scam. Same thing with my, with insurance, my primary care physician.
You need a little proof on that.
And I would end up having.
The guest I have coming on Tuesday got out of the sex trafficking. She was sex trafficked. Lauren, that's coming on Tuesday, who's running for office. She can talk to this issue about child trafficking. She was a child trafficked person when she was a kid. And she's going to talk about that.
To pay $175
on Tuesday,
for every visit. That's with insurance.
In Romania,
so I'm paying my monthly premium.
There's some proof of that of some sort.
And then as a cash patient, it's $95.
Husband, but
I'm so sick of American healthcare.
Into Charlie Kirk's life.
All these
I would need some proof.
They want to focus on
you can hate
and
Israel
trans people and all this bullshit.
Israel is very good at spying and all that kind of stuff. There's no doubt about that.
While they're robbing us blind.
I don't know if they can control as much as they think.
Storming capitals for. Because what the hell?
I should have paid more attention to that video. All right, here's about white girls. Well, she'll talk about it. Being called terrorists.
White girls and women all across the West are being targeted, hunted, terrorized, raped and murdered. As a white woman, I have every right to express my valid fears and concerns. We also have the right to name who is putting our lives at risk. Statistics, pattern recognition, what we experience and what we see with our own eyes tell us who is responsible instead of prioritizing the safety of girls and women. The government is focused on silencing, censoring, and shutting down all discussion and
debate. I hear stuff all the time.
Our leaders are happy
I hear stuff all the time, but I don't go public with it unless I get at least a second or third something on it.
to sacrifice white girls and women for diversity and mass immigration. Remigration is the only peaceful solution. This is only going to get worse. Speak up.
And I do believe that our governments are dirty and all that kind of stuff. I just have to have more proof of something like that. And that. Just reading other ones. Gregory's texting me a lot. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look at him later. I'm gonna do one or two more. Hold on.
All right, guys, we have to talk about this tweet because, of course, it is bigger than this tweet. So Mamdani says, last night, Israeli forces intercepted and boarded a humanitarian aid flotilla bound for Gaza in international waters off the coast of Greece, unlawfully detaining more than 175 people, including several New Yorkers. This is a brazen violation of international law. Those detained must be released. Let's cut the crap. Mamdani is not out here tweeting because he cares about protecting New Yorkers. He's just jumping at a chance to vilify Israel. This flotilla, it's not a humanitarian mission. What it is a PR stunt.
It's Greta.
That also happens to have multiple sexual harassment allegations against its activists. The cargo on the flotilla, well, what did it consist of? Was it aid or was it drugs and condoms?
I'm going to end with one more.
Yeah, that's what was there. There were actually drugs and condoms found on the flotilla. But Mamdani, he doesn't mention that. He calls it a brazen violation of international law because that sounds righteous. But this tweet is so much bigger than that because every time that Mamdani does something like this, what he is doing is putting a target on the back of every single Jew in New York City. This obsession that he has with Israel should be alarming to you because what he is doing is he is paving the way for our city to become the next London in terms of anti-Semitism. You know, the leadership there normalized this type of anti-Israel garbage for years, and attacks on Jews like the one that we had just a few days ago in Golders Green, they are now a regular occurrence there. And that's how it works. because you demonize the only Jewish state, and what happens? You get violent attacks on Jews. Also, I have to say this about the nonsense about violating international law. International law. It is nothing but a weapon used only against Israel. While dictators and terrorists around the world, they get a pass. Does nobody find that odd? But this tweet is just the latest example of our mayor attempting to make Israel illegitimate, and by extension, what he is doing is making Jews in his city feel like we have a giant target on our backs.
Israel and Jews are two different things to me.
Stay safe. Shabbat shalom.
Israel and Jews are two different things to me. This is about a man revealing about a woman being shot. Here we go.
So do you know who the last white girl to get unalived by law enforcement in Minneapolis was before Renee Good? No. You don't.
More after that.
And I bet you don't know that the person who did it was the first Somali police officer in the entire
next one's about Social Security.
They were convicted of murder, and it was later overturned by the Minnesota Supreme Court, and they only served a couple years. Bet you didn't know that, did you?
Yeah, but the news isn't going to report that. This is about the Social Security. Have you heard this about Social Security?
This is really big, and nobody's talking about it. Not the fake media, not even the real media. And I had a hard time, honestly, even finding out any information on it. But here's what happened. The Social Security Administration in Washington, D.C., in March of this year was raided. It was done on a Sunday at 6 a.m. The FBI, the DEA, and other government agencies went in, and they were heading to the second floor office of the Director of Records Integration. And the director's name is Victor Salazar, of course, blue, Democrat. And he stole $6.7 billion. And he did it through theft and money laundering. He was arrested along with 37 others. And they seized 600 terabytes
our tax dollars
of data. There were also raids in 4 other states at 11 other Social Security Administration locations. And the reason they did this is because the DIA, which is the Defense Intelligence Agency, noticed a minor anomaly and something was flagged.
Yeah, I see your text about driving home 34 straight hours or something.
And so they looked into it, and it was a payment they made to someone who
you just got here, I'm going to do one more.
So once they looked into that, it kind of spider-webbed out.
And
they found hundreds of Social Security numbers that had been reactivated.
I got to show you this one.
So once they got the the terabytes, they went in there and they found, or the FBI cyber forensic team found 2 parallel record systems operating inside the Social Security Administration infrastructure. And the first system was the official audit system, our official system. But the second system was a shadow system, and it was operated and maintained by Salazar and his team. And they used it to harvest employee credentials to hide detection and to process payments to dead people, fake identities, and non-citizens. And once they got in there, they found
non-citizens who never paid a dime into Social Security.
Thousands of these transactions of dormant identities that were reactivated. And a lot of these were sold to the Sinaloa drug cartel.
Sold to the drug cartels. These accounts that they're getting free Social Security.
And they were going for anywhere from $4,000 to $90,000 a piece. And some of this money they traced to Miami, Houston, shell accounts, offshore.
They also use the Social Security numbers to get grants and loans and all that kind of crap. Business startups, learning centers,
offshore accounts. And it was so sophisticated that dozens of internal reviews missed it, and it went through 3 presidential administrations. And even with the FBI tech getting in there,
you have to get real technical to get in there and find this stuff.
And seizing everything.
I bet you were barely touching the top of all this.
They still don't know who created the system. There's no names on it, no credentials.
Hey, Gregory, what's the latest word on your truck being fixed?
No access logs attached. Salazar was just running it. He didn't create it. And they also found a fully functioning replica of the system. They were running on a completely unconnected infrastructure. So it was running somewhere else completely also, that had nothing to do with Social Security Administration. And so they were saying that means there's a blueprint of this system out there somewhere. They don't know how many people have it or how many people are using it.
Yeah, that's our tax dollars, and they've been doing it, and they're going to keep doing that if they can get Trump out. We got to win midterms. All right, watch this dude pretend to be a woman, all upset because she got kicked out of the woman's bathroom. Watch this. This will tick you off.
There was a kerfuffle, a to-do.
No, they end up letting him stay in the woman's bathroom. Watch this.
Okay, right out of the gate, he's using softening language. Women raising a boundary is a kerfuffle. Minimize the concern, control the narrative.
As it were, at the rec center where I go, a bunch of women went to complain to the manager.
Bunch of women went to complain, not reported, not raised a concern. He frames women asserting boundaries as whining. That's a credibility downgrade.
That there was a man in the women's locker room.
Correct. Notice he accidentally told the truth there. Then he's going to spend the rest of the video trying to blur it and make a joke out of it.
Now, I didn't see him.
Oh, ha, 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 so funny. That's the joke. He's the man. This is rhetorical sleight of hand. Distance yourself from the behavior while benefiting.
Dude, get a clue
from it.
Because I was busy minding my own business, but
that's intent.
Yeah, getting a hard on with being around all those women.
Framing. He's telling you how to feel about him.
A lot of them write in their things, in their notes and stuff like that. People have found out later that they get hard-ons by being able to get into the women's bathrooms. These trans idiots.
But here's the reality, sir. Boundaries are not based on someone's claimed intentions. They're based on who is present in the space. You don't need bad intent for a boundary to exist.
They were very concerned, and they went to together. They banded together.
So does that mean you'll get a whole new truck there, Gregory?
Listen to that phrasing. Women banded together. Women organizing equals suspicious, aggressive, threatening, banded together. But when institutions band together against women, he calls that support.
To go and make this statement to the manager. Shout out to Ben Parks and Recreation Department, and also to Starla and Sue.
It's not that hard to tell you're a dude. Just listen to your voice for one.
Starla being the one that's managing the facilities most
Adam's apple
days I'm in there. And Sue, who is the head of the
probably weigh 1.5 times as much as any of those women.
Parks and Rec Department, who came down to handle everything personally and also to make sure that I felt safe and welcome there.
Yuck. Because the translation of what he just said is authority overrode all of these women's objections. And what did they do? They prioritized his feelings over their boundaries.
He can go shove his feelings up his butt.
Safety is being redefined here. This is important. Safety is being redefined here from physical privacy to his emotional validation.
Also, to the women who decided not to do that, but to go out of their way today to make sure that I understood that I was welcome with them.
Ooh, I just want to smack that smugness right off of his face. But I'll just continue this break.
I'm sure it was white liberals.
Down. Him saying, oh, to the women that made me feel welcome with them. This is classic social pressure. It's a classic social pressure tactic. Highlight the good women who comply. And then you're implying that the others are bad.
I'd help you, Marianne. I'd hold his arm so you could punch him several times.
Unkind, or one of their favorites, bigoted. And by doing this, you divide women and you weaken the collective.
Good, Greg. I hope you get another truck out of this.
And I was safe with them. I almost left and didn't take part in the class today, and I'm really glad I stayed.
Okay, this is hero framing. He's positioning himself as the vulnerable one for simply being challenged.
I was convinced by one of the ladies there to stay, and we didn't let them win today.
Bro, win what? Win what? Women asking for a single-sex space? Notice how basic boundaries are...
The left won't admit that that's a dude.
...reframed as a battle. As a battle. And women as the enemy.
Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and don't forget to drink your gender fluid. Today is a oat milk latte with cayenne pepper in it.
That's gender fluid? Someone tells me that has anything to do with having being a gender.
So now he's ending with humor and the moral high ground with the be kind. That is strategic, and it makes dissent look...
You need to get some dudes to go in there and drag that guy out and rough him up a little bit.
...look mean, and it makes compliance look virtuous and enlightened. So all I want to say is this. Notice how the words guide you. From concern to complaint. From boundaries to bigotry. From women to obstacles. Because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it.
And they're going to use the legal system. I am going to play one more. This one was about a woman that Trump brought back to the border who had her skull cracked by illegals.
I'm Amanda Kiefer. I don't feel like I belong on the stage with the folks here since I seem to have gotten off kind of easy with just a fractured skull. I didn't lose loved ones, but...
Let me catch up here.
The night I was walking to dinner in Pacific Heights, it was a nice neighborhood. You wouldn't expect broad daylight for something violent to happen to you on the way to dinner.
Greg, I'm hearing over in Europe, they're really starting to push back more than even the United States against the gender stuff. Is
My
that
purse
true?
was stolen, and I stepped into the street, and the car he jumped into came at me. I jumped up on the hood to avoid getting run over, and he floored it and hit the brakes. The police were great. They had caught him and his accomplice in a really short time because I remember being on a gurney in the hallway of the hospital, and I had to ID them.
That's a long time. Wow.
Because they fractured my skull.
Wow, Gregory.
What was really the worst part about it all, though, is when I found out that taxpayer money was paying for job training for this guy who avoided going to prison for the first felony he committed for jobs he couldn't legally hold. It was kind of a wake-up moment for me, and I moved out of San Francisco because I didn't feel safe there. And I don't think our country is going to be safe under Kamala Harris.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to end it there. But remember, Tuesday, 5 o'clock Eastern, I got a good guest coming on. She's run for Congress, and part of it's Austin, Texas. But she's got a good shot, I guess. She was also sex trafficked, so she's a survivor of that. So her name's Lauren. So we'll see. I'll probably be on tomorrow. I should be on tomorrow, unless I can't get there. Let me bring your comment up. Okay. Won't be placed out of service permanently. I want the truck placed out of service permanently, yeah. Yeah, take care, everyone. I'll see you all tomorrow. Okay, I should be on tomorrow. Unless, like the other day, I didn't get it home in time to start one. I got home by 5, but I didn't have everything all set up. So, all right, so I should be on at 5. I'm definitely going to be on Tuesday at 5. Okay? God bless everyone. Bye-bye.